Okay, welcome back to our coaster or custom coaster project. As you can see, we are done machining now, and we have our three different coasters here. What we're going to do now is that we're going to cut the tabs out and fill in our lettering with epoxy. Contrasting color, probably black. That'll probably work pretty good on this. White would work well too. So, or maybe gray. We'll go in between. We'll mix a gray up. That's what we'll do. We'll put gray in it. And what we'll do is fill these in with epoxy. But before I ever do anything like that, so that if I was going to paint it or whatever, you don't want that paint or epoxy to migrate up the grain or the pores of the grain into the rest of the field. So what we'll do is we'll seal this with shellac first so that we don't get any of that migration happening. But the first things are first, we got to cut all of our tabs out. And the way I usually do that is that I use a router. I got a trim router that I use. Okay. I use this trim router, and basically it has I don't know if you can see it, it has a trim bit in it. Okay? It has a trim bit in it. So that's what we're looking at. So what we do, it's a 1/4 inch trim bit, flush trim bit. What I'll do is I'll turn this over and I will cut it from this edge for the very fact this ball bearing will run against our already cut edge. So I can put it in, okay, like this, and then I can start it, and then I can just basically run all the way around. So we cut it out, no fuss, no muss, and as you can see, we don't have to do any sanding on the edges. That's really nice. So all of our edges come out real nice. So let me cut the rest of these out and then we'll continue on. And the shape doesn't matter. It really doesn't, for the very fact this just follows in the groove. Again, no fuss, no muss. If you look at it, look at those edges. Very little sanding to be done. Let's do the last one. This is a square one. Again, put it down in there. We're done. We've got them all cut out now. All our different shapes. It's what's really nice about doing it with this trim router and a 1/4 inch flush cut bit. So let me clean things up and we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. We're now ready to do some sealing with some shellac. Like I said, I always do this before I do any sanding or anything because these come out pretty decent to begin with. And the other thing is that if I'm going to fill these in, you got to sand it anyhow. So why sand it twice? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill it in with some put a little bit of shellac in here, and what we'll do is just smooch it around. And really what I'm trying to do is use the shellac for sealing. Okay, I'll take a little piece of foam and I'll just move it around there And what I'm going to do is I'm just really wanting it to soak it up. Okay, just soak it up. It's not going to hurt anything. And that's what I'm going to do. Just allow it to be soaked up. Don't fill your lettering in or anything like that, for the very fact if you fill your lettering in, you won't have no space for your epoxy to go to. So make sure that you don't just leave them filled up like the in here. You don't want them full. You just want them so they have some material in them, so they seal. And that's all we're trying to do, is just seal this up so that the epoxy doesn't go through the grain. So we'll just keep on doing this until we're happy and satisfied. Like I said, I don't do a bunch of it, just enough to get it to fill in so that I don't have. Basically what we're doing is we're wicking clear in, which we don't care about, but I don't want the color to wick. So what we're doing is we're putting the shellac in to seal it so it doesn't wick. That's what we're doing. We don't want it to wick, so we're going to put shellac in it. The shellac won't show in our finish because it's clear, and our black won't, or our gray we're going to do, won't wick up the grain. So we'll wait for those to dry, and then we'll be ready to put some epoxy in. See you back in a moment. Okay, welcome back. The shellac is dried now, and we're ready to put our epoxy in. Basically, I just use 5-minute epoxy, and then I use the mix-all colorants. I mix my epoxy up first. And it's 50-50 basically. Take my popsicle stick and I thoroughly mix it up. Mix it up the best you can. And I just mix it pretty good. I mix it for probably about 30 seconds to a minute. Then what I do is I add my color. After I've got it mixed, I'll put a couple drops of black in, a couple drops of white, and see how that comes out. Well, that comes out to about like a aluminum gray or maybe a gunmetal gray. Mix it good, scrape the sides and the bottom, and in this plastic thing I can feel it starting to cure. Then I just basically dab it in to my area that I'm going to be filling in, and it pretty much levels out by itself. pretty much levels out by itself. All you gotta do is kind of get it in the right places. That looks pretty good there. This will be easier to fill in for the very fact it's just letters. I try to, especially in the letters, sometimes you gotta kind of, for lack of a better word, pat it in so you get some of the air bubbles out. Get it down in the grooves real good. Again, like I said, it pretty much levels itself out. And for last but not least, we got some for the hot. Again, just fill in the letters. Just make sure you get all your letters filled in. You don't want them being shy. For the very fact, if you make it shy, they won't fill in right after they harden up. As you can see, it pretty much self-levels, so you really don't have to worry about that portion of it. You just got to make sure you get everything filled up real good. Okay, basically, come back when it's dry. See you back when it comes dry.